Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartia and welcome to Mainframe Matters. Today we have with us Igor Todorovsky, Open Community Development Lead at IBM. Igor, it's great to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Swapnil. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And today we are going to talk about Open Community, which, if I'm not wrong, was announced last year. So talk a bit about what is this community all about.
So we're truly excited to be a part of the Open Mainframe Project. So the zopen community is a collaborative open source community started back in 2022. Really, the aim for the community is to bring open source technologies to ZOS. And essentially, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bridge the open source technology gap between ZOS and some of the major platforms. So as of right now, we have over 200 plus open source tools and libraries in our portfolio. We also provide a package manager. So one of the key feedback that we got originally was that it was very difficult to consume our tools. So we focused on developing something where new developers can come in and get access to these tools with just one command. So we have a package manager known as zopen. It really simplifies the installation and management of open source tools. And on top of that, we also have a build framework, which really streamlines the entire build process and gives us a consistent release structure. And it helps us also to automate a lot of aspects, including maintaining currency. So maintaining currency with open source tools is one of the key areas that we've focused on. And it's especially critical, in my opinion, in this landscape where CV vulnerabilities can come up and almost change everything, as we saw with the recent XC and Log4j vulnerabilities.
When you say it's Open is a community, so what exactly does it mean by being a community versus if you look at projects?
Yeah, so the zopen community is a GitHub organization. It's on github.com/zopen community. And the whole idea here is to create a collaborative environment where instead of teams working in their individual silos and porting a particular tool, in my case, when I was working on bringing Node.js to ZOS, this was back in the 2020 timeframe. We had discovered that we had a lot of missing dependencies. So we had to go in and port these dependencies. These were open source tools that included household names like GNUMake, CMake, and Ninja, tools that you would expect on the platform. And at that time, many other teams had similar dependencies, which they may have gone out and also ported themselves. So rather than us working in these individual silos, we decided that it would be best to create an environment, collaborative environment where we can all collaborate and bring our projects to the open source realm. And that means we can also leverage from each other. And that's really the whole idea behind the zopen community. It's about having an avenue where open source development on ZOS can be collaborative and everyone can leverage it and collaborate together.
Of course, the project originated at IBM, but then you folks contributed to Open Mainframe Project, and if I'm not wrong, is part of Open Mainframe. Can you talk about the whole structure of Open community within the Open Mainframe Project?
As we mentioned, the zopen community was established back in 2022. And in 2024, October of 2024, we joined the Open Mainframe Project. So we're now part of the Open Mainframe Project umbrella. So we are taking on the Open Mainframe Project governing practices. What that means is that we now have a TSC steering committee, which consists of approximately 8 individuals who are helping to steer the direction of the zopen community. And we're truly excited to be taking advantage of a lot of the resources that the Open Mainframe Project provides. And we're hoping to have a better partnership going forward in 2025.
Can you also talk about how closely you folks work with the Open Mainframe Project? And of course, after that, I will also like to talk about the existing projects which are there and how will the community help there. So let's start with the collaboration you work with the Open Mainframe Project.
Yeah, so the Open Mainframe Project has a lot of the same values that we share with the zopen community. One of the main things that we've focused on from the get-go is to make the zopen community as open as possible so that we can collaborate with the various open source communities, leverage a lot of the work that other ZOS enterprises have done, and put it in one central place. So we're truly excited about aligning with the Open Mainframe Project on that. But we're also really eager to take advantage of the many assets that the Open Mainframe project provides, and that's raising awareness. We've already seen quite a bit of that. The number of consumers and also contributors of our tools is steadily growing as a result. And in addition to that, I would say that we're also really excited about joining the Open Mainframe Project's mentorship program. This is something that has been around for quite some time. It was one of our motivating factors for joining the Open Mainframe Project. One last thing I would say is that resources have always been a bit of an issue for us, and I do know that the Open Mainframe Project provides many resources in terms of hardware resources, as well as the domain that they've provided us. And by the way, you can find us on zopen.community. That's where our website is located if you want to learn more.
What is the long-term and immediate goal of zopen? Because if you look at open source and we look at the whole mainframe, there are a lot of, open mainframe is there, a lot of projects going on. And one of the biggest, when I talk to the community, I've been covering it for a long time, is also to kind of build a bridge between modern developers and modern technologies, because one is the very mature but older technology, and then you have to attract. So talk a bit about the short-term and the long-term goals of the open community.
Absolutely. So I would say that our key long-term goal is really to make ZOS another first-class open source platform. So when you think of Red Hat, when you think of Ubuntu, these are platforms that you associate with open source. And that's the same thing that we would like to achieve with ZOS at some point. And obviously there's a lot of obstacles that we have to overcome, given that it has been proprietary for quite some time, and we're just in the beginning stages of opening it up. But I would say there's about 3 pillars that we're trying to tackle. The first, as I mentioned, is to bring a lot of the open source technologies to ZOS, enabling them so that they work on the platform. And the next thing, which is really key and that we're starting to tackle, is upstreaming a lot of these ZOS changes back to the open source communities. So through this, the communities, I'll take a few examples like Git, curl, and bash. They're starting to now adopt ZOS as one of the platforms that they support. And through this, we're also raising awareness of the ZOS platform among the open source communities. And then last but not least, I would say that providing better accessibility to ZOS. Right now, we're still limited for the most part by limited access to ZOS. Only those individuals that work with ZOS enterprises really have the necessary resources to be able to work on this project. But as of, I would say last month, in IBM, we actually just started a program called the ZOS Public Facing Initiative, and it allows users from, let's say, universities or ZOS enthusiasts, which may not necessarily have access to ZOS, as well as the open source communities, to be able to get access to ZOS and try it out. And I do know the Open Mainframe Project is also doing something similar. So the more access that we provide, I think it will ultimately help ZOS become a first-class open source platform.
Ever since the Open community was announced, can you talk about some of the achievement that you folks have made?
One of the key achievements is really bridging the technology gap between the major platforms and ZOS. Actually, when we started this initiative back in 2022, we did an analysis comparing the number of open source tools that are available on a bare bones ZOS system versus that of some of the major platforms like Red Hat, Ubuntu, and others. And we noticed the significant gap. And one of the key things for us was to try to reduce that gap as much as possible. So in the last 3 years, we've gone from porting the foundational set of tools. This included build systems like CMake, Ninja, GNUMake, and some of the languages as well, including Perl. A lot of these are a foundational set of open source tools that are needed as dependencies in order to build some of the more complex open source projects. So we were really thrilled about being able to get that foundation in place. And now, as I mentioned, we have over 200 open source tools covering a wide array of categories, from compression tools to networking tools like curl and wget, to source control tools like Git, and even a lot of the auxiliary open source tools that help with Git, like Git LFS for large file system, etc., and many more. So we're really thrilled about managing to reduce the gap as much as possible. And the other thing that we're really excited about is providing a way or a mechanism for new consumers and developers to improve their developer productivity by accessing these tools without having to go through a system administrator. As we know with ZOS, it's quite a lockdown system, and typically when developers want a particular piece of software installed, they typically have to go through a system administrator to install it through an SMP. But in most cases, developers are just in need of a particular tool so that they can help improve developer productivity or to enable a DevOps workflow. And in those types of situations, it's all about being able to get to that software quickly. And the zopen package manager is really what enables that. One of the things that we focused on that I mentioned earlier is really around the whole idea of security. With our zopen package manager, we've put in a lot of effort to be able to track for vulnerabilities and detect them, and also notify users of potential vulnerabilities. Given that ZOS, is really all about data and data security, we put in a lot of focus to be able to detect these vulnerabilities and also provide updates automatically if vulnerability is detected.
Excellent, thank you. And if I'm not wrong, of course, the project originated at IBM, but then you folks contributed to Open Mainframe Project, and if I'm not wrong, is part of Open Mainframe. Can you talk about the whole structure of zopen community within the Open Mainframe Project?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we mentioned, the zopen community was established back in 2022. And in 2024, October of 2024, we joined the Open Mainframe Project. So we're now part of the Open Mainframe Project umbrella. So we are taking on the Open Mainframe Project governing practices. What that means is that we now have a TSC steering committee, which consists of approximately 8 individuals who are helping to steer the direction of the zopen community. And we're truly excited to be taking advantage of a lot of the resources that the Open Mainframe Project provides. And we're hoping to have a better partnership going forward in 2025.
How can people get involved with the zopen community?
So I'm glad you asked that question. And for us, one of the key things with the zopen community is to be able to grow the community to the point where it's self-sufficient. So right now, we have, initially when we started, we had about 2 contributors. It was myself and Mike Fulton, who was a distinguished engineer at IBM. He was one of the founders of the zopen community. But now we've grown to a point where we have over 50 contributors in the zopen community, and we're looking to add more. So there's a variety of ways in which users and developers can get involved. One is our Discord channel. It's called the SystemZ Enthusiasts. We have a couple of sub-channels in there for the zopen community. One is with respect to the development, and another is with respect to consuming tools and providing feedback. The other suggestion I would say is go to our website. It's at zopen.community. Start using our tools. We try to streamline the process as much as possible so that you can actually get these tools on your system through one command if you already have curl and bash on your system, and provide us with feedback. And if you're interested in getting involved from a contributor's point of view, from a development standpoint, the first question would be, do you have access to ZOS? If you don't, we have avenues to provide you with access to ZOS. If you already have access to ZOS, then you can get involved in a number of ways. And one is we have already, as I mentioned, 200 plus tools that we've ported, some at varying qualities. So you can get involved in improving the quality of an existing port. You can get involved by porting a brand new open source tool that others see a demand for, or that perhaps you may see a demand for. And I would say last but not least, if you're interested in working with the upstream open source communities and contributing some of our existing patches to enable these tools to work on ZOS, you can also help with that process as well.
Igor, thank you so much for joining me today and talk about zopen community. Thanks for great insights, and I would love to chat with you when there is new development in the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It was a pleasure. Appreciate it.